Good evening, everyone. I am Dolores Greenwald. I'm the Executive Director here at the Williamson County Public Library, and I know what a busy time this is for everyone, so I appreciate you coming in and being part of this celebration with us tonight. We have some very special folks that will be presented with the Janice Keck Literary Award. And the evening is going to go by Bill. I'm going to introduce Bill Peach, and then we're going to have our award winners receive their medallions, and then we will break to have some fabulous snacks before we end the evening. So thank you again for coming. I would like to thank tonight our judges, who was with Ingram Content Group, the staff that was involved with the Janice Keck Literary Awards did not want to be the judges. So we decided to go to a group of experts at Ingram. So they graciously participated with this. And as a result of that, the library will receive a $500 award from Ingram for what the library is doing with local authors. So we're very excited about that. And they are also helping provide some of the accounts that the winners will receive tonight too, to begin their self-publishing. But I don't think they're going to be self-published very long. I think publishers are going to pick them up because these are some wonderful books, wonderful books. And I would like to thank Bill Peach for coming and being part of our group tonight, and also some of the staff back here. Rebecca and Sharon helped us so much, and Margaret and Julie are helping us tonight with getting all the food settled and everything. So it takes a village to put something like this together, and I appreciate everybody's participation. Probably most of you know Bill Peach. If you don't, you should. All you have to do is go to Merity's and you'll see. Bill has been in a part of this writing community for many years. He'll probably admit to it when he gets up how many years it's been. He's published, 6 books, I think. And he used to own a store on Main Street, a retail men's suit store. As you can tell, he has a nice suit and tie on tonight. So, and he's also nicknamed Main Street Philosopher, because once you sit down and start talking to him, time flies, and it's very hard to break away and do things that you would rather not be doing besides sitting there and talking. So, Bill, thank you for being part of this celebration tonight, and it's yours.
Thank you all for coming. In the interest of accuracy, I'm going to read instead of ad-lib. Let me just say something about the Janice Keck Literary Award. I've been in 2 different writers groups, and we worked with Janice Keck for many years. And several years ago, we established a database here at the library. We researched and found everyone, past and present, who had written and published a book who lived in Williamson County. The first year, we found 98, which we were right proud of. Today, that database is almost 500 people. You know, I'm proud of our county for it being what it is, and we're not quite as conservative, I guess I can use that word, as we're a little more sophisticated than some of the other counties around us. And after we lost Janice, Dolores has filled that void, and we are as endeared to her as we were to Janice, and one day we'll have an award in her name, hopefully. But I guess that's about all I need to say about that, the question of why I'm doing this. I've been fortunate to have been involved in about every book writers group that's been put together in this county, and the library has been so good to work with. And I have two daughters who are school librarians and have a special place in my heart for anyone who's a caretaker of the written word, and I'm honored to be here. As you know, we did this 2 years ago, and I thought we were going to do it every year, but it's hard to get enough entries, so I think it's going to become every 2 years, we think. And also the library has another publishing project that they'll do in the intermittent years. But we set this up in 4 categories: fiction, nonfiction, children's, and poetry, which covered most of the genre, I think. This year we had, from what Dolores tells me, some great entries. And that makes your award much more meaningful. And one of the things that we ran into last year was that we didn't have a representative number of submissions, and we didn't feel like that it would do the award justice. So we're going to try to make it a big thing every year. I'm going to read the bios. Are we ready to do that? When we've had entries in children's books, it has sometimes been difficult to find an illustrator. Holly A. Church brought her own. One of these is Holly and the other one's Leanne. But anyway, in the interest of accuracy, I am going to read the bio, hopefully verbatim. The award for children's. And here is the bio for Holly A. Church, the writer, and Leanne Schneider, the illustrator, identical twins. Holly A. Church and Leanne Schneider are identical twins who have recently realized their place together in the creative world. The idea of being a creative duo has been a long time coming. In 2017, they officially came together to become Double Fly Design. Their book, A Tennessee Breeze, is the first endeavor together. Leanne has been drawing since she could hold a crayon. Her work includes everything from illustrations for children's magazines, music album covers, food labels, and even textiles and murals. She spends her time filling the blank pages with squirrels, chipmunks, crazy possums, and reckless raccoons. Children's art, illustration, and children's books are the pulse of her life. She lives in Atlanta, Georgia with her husband, her 2-year-old son, and her dog, Cheddar. Holly A. Church has been secretly writing for years. Her closet is full of secret stories ready for a little sunlight. A Tennessee Breeze is her first picture book for children. She lives in Franklin, Tennessee with her husband, her 7-year-old son, and 2 dogs, Missy and Harry. And in just a moment, we'll bring all of you up for the awards. In the nonfiction category, James Turner. Who's James Turner? That's you. Okay, I had not met you yet. And we will discuss the book, but I will read the bio that I guess you wrote. So if,
unless it's really bad.
okay, all right, okay. See how self-aggrandizing it is. James Turner is a graduate of the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. He's a 7th generation Tennessean, and a board member, past and present, of historical organizations and properties. A national sales representative for a software development company, he enjoys working on his family's cattle farm, intermittent blogging, and traveling to anywhere. He lives in Franklin with his 2 children, Ella and Caldwell. You don't have a twin with you. Okay. All right, I didn't want to leave anybody out. All right, is Katie here? Okay. You're my new Facebook friend, I think. Good. Okay, in the fiction category, Katie Shands is our winner, and this is a short bio. Katie began writing professionally as a broadcast journalist, but left the workforce to raise her 3 children, 1 or 2 with her. She rediscovered her passion for creative writing and worked on her first novel in spurts, while dinner cooked, kids napped, and laundry washed. By itself? Okay. Katie is a member of the American Christian Fiction Writers. She makes her home in Franklin, Tennessee, with her husband, children, and a lifetime collection of books. Visit her at katieshands.com. Now, for our poetry. And Raymond is here. I saw him a minute ago. There he is. Raymond Preston is a licensed marriage and family therapist in Franklin. He's an ordained minister and the author of dozens of books. Really? Dozens? Okay. Didn't want you to exaggerate. In marriage and family enrichment and in spiritual growth. Preston is familiar to many in Williamson County through his writings. As a local newspaper columnist for almost a decade, he is an award-winning poet in college. He credits his privilege, or the privilege of being mentored by the Pulitzer-nominated poet Stella Sue Lee, for reigniting his love of poetry and further developing his craft. Originally a native of North Carolina, Raymond and his wife, Dory, have lived in Thompson Station long enough to wish they had gotten a 15-year mortgage on their home instead of 30, whatever that signifies.
This is year 15.
Okay.
It means we would have no payments now.
Good. Are we ready to do these awards?
Just before we do the awards, I have noticed that we have a couple of previous award winners. So would the previous award winners stand? And we also have one that here that kind of helped us get everything organized and go through this process to make sure that we kind of knew what we were doing, and that's Ginger. Thank you, Ginger. Okay, what's Holly's sister's name?
Leanne.
Okay, Holly and Leanne. Congratulations. Okay, Raymond.
Thank you.
Am I supposed to be?
At some point, we want them to
Yeah, we're going to come back after
come
we
back
Oh, okay.
and sort of do an overview.
Yes, we'll do an
of your
overview
book.
in a minute. Okay, Katie. Katie. James.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, now we're going to have all the award winners to talk, don't go away, James, to talk a little bit about their work and why they submitted to the award contest. And we're going to start with James since he's up here now.
Since I'm up here?
Since you're up here, come up here and tell us about your book.
It's killing me, but I can't remember your name, but you're the main reason that I did this. We sat here at a book event about 1.5 years ago, and you'd won, and I said, I'm going to read that. I haven't done it yet like all the others on my library shelf, it seems like. But you said, give it a shot. Everybody else is saying, give it a shot, and then finally some stranger says, give it a shot. It means more when it's not your mom or your dad or anybody else. My book is a series of analogies based on lessons that can be learned through history and from battles. That's my hobby, is military history, and it always has been. And when I started looking at this as a book, I just wanted to pull some lessons that I had learned from the past way too many years, to be honest. My hobby when I travel to the battlefields and even here at the Battle of Franklin is to try to figure out what the troops were thinking, what the commanders were thinking, what the decisions were that they made that day, what the good things were, what the mistakes were, and what I can learn from that. And that's something my grandmother kind of instilled into me. She would travel around with me to some of these places, and she was my teacher. So when I started working on this, I decided I need to get a little bit better information about the self-help thing, to be sure that I kind of write it the right way. So I said, I need to learn about self-help. Well, where do you want to go when you want to learn about something? You come to the library. And so I came to the library, and I walked up to the desk, and Rebecca was working that day, and I said, could you point me to the self-help section? And she said, I think that would really defeat the purpose. Well, that didn't happen, but she would do that. That's what I think. As I tell these stories, it's a little bit, the title of this is basically that it takes you from 52 BC and Caesar fighting the Gauls in what's now France, and it brings you up to Alvin York in 1918 in World War I. And so it's lessons that can be learned from any little thing. Some of my favorite, and I think you pick out a favorite when you do something like this. One of my favorites is the Battle of Culloden, which is Scotland. So a lot of us are Anglophiles, and we like that sort of thing. And it's 1745, and Bonnie Prince Charlie lands on the coast of Scotland, and the Highlanders are all going to come to him, and there's going to be an uprising, and it's going to be the redemption of King James, and these things are all going to happen, except that he didn't have a plan, and he never really had a plan. And it envelops the entire nation, and it's a civil war between Scotland and England, but it's also a religious war between Catholics and Protestants. And I quote in the book Robert Burns, the famous Scottish, the best laid schemes of mice and men, gang after gley, which for me tonight basically means that in English, no matter how well you plan, my son's got a band concert and my daughter's cheering a basketball game and they couldn't be here. And so they're going, man. But that's kind of the point of that. No matter how you plan, something's going to change and something's going to happen. And so how we react to it. Sergeant York is a story that I want that when I talk about it is that anybody can be extraordinary. That you can make something of yourself even if you never thought you could. I talk about Caesar and how he goes with his Romans, and he is bound to be defeated. There's no way in the world that he could possibly survive against the Gauls. He's outnumbered at least 5 to 6 to 1. But he believes in himself. Caesar believes in luck. He's one of those guys. Back then there was a debate between the Romans whether you believe in luck or fate. So and I think we still have that debate. So really the thing that I've done is try to make it fun. I've told stories about growing up in a small town about an hour and a half away from here where I'm from. And it's been my hope that it makes sense. It's some of it's sentimental and some of it's syrupy, and I mean that's what I am, I think. So it turned out I think there probably were books just as well, but it touched somebody, so they said this was good enough to come up here. I'm certain that there were better things, but it's really a big honor to be up here, and I don't think I need to ramble anymore. So thank you.
Katie, come up and talk about your book, Finding Franklin.
Hi, I'm Katie Shans. I wrote Finding Franklin, the fiction award. My book is about a girl who has no sense of her past. She is abandoned as an infant on a porch in Franklin, and then just sort of goes through the revolving door of different children's homes, the foster care system, and she lands with a woman when she's a teenager, and then the woman passes away, and so that sort of sets into motion the story of her trying to find her mother, and so she goes back to Franklin. And the entire story is set in Franklin, and there's lots of local restaurants that people would recognize, different shops. She buys a house on West Main and restores it, and meets a man that lives down the street from her, and so it kind of evolves. It's part romance and kind of goes into a mystery. And as they're renovating the house, they find a diary, and she thinks this may have some sort of connection to her past. So the entire story is them kind of, trying to solve this mystery and the development of their relationship along the way. And it's also a faith journey. She is questioning the goodness of God and how he kind of fits into her life. And so it's a journey of identity and faith and what she comes to define as family and yes, family. And as far as what inspired me to enter the contest, I had just started writing. I guess I had started the manuscript in June, and then I heard about the contest, I guess in October, and I had the first draft pretty much done. And I just felt like it was meant to be, and I love the library. I feel like I'm here. This is like my second home, bringing the kids to the story time and just coming on rainy days to check out books and play in the little children's section. So I just sort of had, I just felt a connection with the library, and I really felt like the timing of it all was great. So I really buckled down and sent it off to Chris Rossland to look over, and he helped me out with the editing. And my husband is a saint to babysit while I'm trying to get this thing done, and so it just all kind of fell into place, and I just really feel like it was meant to be, I guess. But it's a huge honor to win this, and I can't. He's tearing up. I couldn't think of any better award that I could be more honored by. So I thank you for this opportunity and this honor, and I'll have something to give my kids, and so thank you so much.
Katie, he wasn't the only one that was about to tear up. Raymond, come and tell us about voice lessons.
Yeah, I probably had the easiest task, because if you're doing a collection of poetry for a contest, and if you haven't written any poetry and you decide, I think I'm going to write some poetry for a contest, it's too late. So I really had probably the advantage in that so much of it was written over the years, and so then it's more going through some kind of buffet and picking, okay, who is going to make the team. I'm sorry you didn't make the cut. This has sort of been a bucket list kind of thing, because you mentioned in the bio that sort of returning to one of my first loves as a writer in poetry. That was one of the first things that I can remember writing in third grade, getting some kind of school district award, and having a parent. I imagine several of you were encouraged early on in your writing by a parent or a teacher who affirmed you, whether it was great or not, just to keep going. I wish my mom was here, because if you ask me about being a writer, she won't mention nonfiction books. She'll tell you about this really corny poem I wrote in the sixth grade, and that it's killing her that she can't find the only copy of that. So I'm still stuck in the sixth grade at age 57 with my mom. But a couple of reasons that this is real special to me. One, because Janice Keck and I were friends. One of the, I don't think it was in this one, but one of the times I've been in one of these meeting rooms was leading a workshop, a seminar that she helped facilitate, and I'm now writing for the Williamson, the Franklin homepage, Brentwood homepage, a weekly column, but I've written for the Williamson Herald for a number of years, and Janice was one of the ones that let me know, there really is someone out there. I mean, those of you who are writers, you put your stuff out there, right, Bill? And you wonder, it's like speaking in the dark. Is there any audience out there? Is anyone actually reading this stuff, or am I talking to myself? And Janice was a fan that would let me know that she had read and enjoyed. So it's pretty special just to have her affiliation with this. But special too, like I said, because this is sort of a coming around full circle in a bucket list, and that Stella, because the poetic voice had sort of gotten lost in writing columns and nonfiction, and in around 2009, Stella Sue Lee, I read an article in the local paper that this Pulitzer poet from California was moving to Spring Hill. We live in the Spring Hill Thompson Station area. I reached out to her. Turns out she's moving into my subdivision. God, I can take a hint. So, but just because two people, because poets can be a quirky bunch, just let me tell you. So just because you're two poets doesn't mean you're going to hit it off. But we really did, and had a similar philosophy of poetry, that the craft can be excellent, but it be accessible. Meaning, I know what the heck the poet is saying. If you ever tried to read some poetry in the New Yorker magazine, you know what I'm referring to. Hope the poet knows what they mean, because I don't. But Stella Sue Lee, being an excellent poet, the compatibility of helping sort of reignite that love and finding that voice again. So most of the poetry that is in the collection was written under her mentorship or following. So if she were here, she now lives in Knoxville, but I would have to say that it wouldn't exist. I had some great teachers before, but the book of poetry wouldn't exist without her gracious mentorship. The poetry itself is a real eclectic, because I'm a class clown who can get misty watching Little House on the Prairie. So there's Billy Collins-esque kind of humor. I was delighted to discover Billy Collins, that you could write poetry and be funny and not have to be Dr. Seuss or Shel Silverstein. And as a therapist, I'm fascinated by relationships, and so there's some of those themes. So I've noticed, as I've looked at some other books of poetry, they sort of stick with sort of a theme and a voice. And I have to admit, because if you think, well, this may be your only book of poetry, you better go for it. And so it's everything on the continuum. So, But thank you to the judges and to the library. Those of us who have been working with this have gotten to know that the library staff is taking this on top of their regular duties, and so we don't take that for granted. So thank you very much.
Lee, it's your turn.
Well, I might not say quite as much as everybody else. It is a children's picture book, after all. It's fairly simple, I like to think. A Tennessee Breeze, it sort of reminds me of a bedtime story. Basically, as the sun's going down, I'm sure we've all sat on our back porch or been outside and the sun is going down and there's a nice cool breeze. You can see some tiny gnats drifting, floating in that breeze. And you start to hear cicadas and the crickets, and you can hear the frogs, and you can hear the birds. That's really kind of what inspired this story, if you will. And there's the whippoorwill in the story sort of introduces us to dusk, and the mockingbird takes us into the night with his song. That's a pretty brief description of it. It is only 32 pages, I think. So I really, when we first moved to Franklin, one of my goals, one of the things I really wanted to do was to enter more writing contests. I'd never done that before. I've been writing for a little while and kind of just stashing all these stories and all these things into my closet. And I thought, well, if we're going to move here, and I'm gonna research some contests and enter, and this was the first one. But I chose the Janice Keck because it's local. It was affiliated with the library, and there was a description about how important Janice Keck was to the library, and I thought that sort of satisfies several things for me. And that's it. I'm grateful for this opportunity. I thought it was the perfect platform for me. As a beginning writer, and I thought it was an even better platform, I must say, for me and my sister to do this together, and it worked out. I think maybe some luck, maybe a little bit of skill in there somewhere, a lot of skill for Leanne, and timing, and I just want to thank you all very, very much for this opportunity. So.
Everybody do their photo ops, and then we'll break for some snacks.
The Downtown Franklin Association, the Heritage Foundation, sponsors something called the Art Crawl. It's the first Friday night of every month, and a group of authors meets at Mary Dee's, sets up a few tables. We've had anywhere from nobody but me to 12 authors, so we never know who's coming. But any of you on a first Friday night of the month, get a handful of books and come and hang out with us and enjoy.
Thanks everybody for coming, and when the authors and the staff gets the books completely ready, we will do an author signing, and we will sell some books. So we look forward to that. That's the next step in this process. So all the winners come up. Let's get some pictures. And thanks everybody for coming.